Board of Selectmen meeting to order for October 16, 2019. Any reason for non-public?
We do have one reason to go into non-public this evening, yes.
Under?
RSA 91A3, I believe it's under legal.
Legal? Okay.
Legal.
Yep.
Legal.
Okay, consideration of minutes for...
David, pull your microphone, because you can't.
Okay. Consideration of minutes for October 2nd.
I have a few changes. First one is on page 3, fourth paragraph from the bottom, second line after the Liberty Report, and this is what I would like to have added, which seems to be overspent, but she believes that the appropriation column does not show the total amount appropriated, but instead just the 2019 amount left. All right. Page 6, on the top, the first paragraph, it says attachment, and it was the presentation. I think there is going to be a change on that presentation, and that we have the corrected one put on in the minutes. I think then 1, 2, 3, fourth one from the bottom, the third sentence down at the end of the first sentence, it should say at Pleasant Valley Road. And then on page 7, 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph up, I think the CIP amount, Mr. O'Brien, wasn't that 400,000?
I'm sorry, I wasn't following.
Page 7, 1, 2, 3, fourth one up, it was something you said, wasn't it 400,000?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that needs to be 400,000. And then on page 14,
Page?
14, and it's the paragraph that I'm giving my report, and it is the last sentence that you're to scratch out the Libby Museum and put Town Hall. I went to the Friends of the Town Hall. That's all I have.
Anybody else have any corrections that they'd like to make?
Linda caught mine, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearings. First one's temporary event permit, Kingswood Youth Center and Wolfeboro Parks and Rec, to have members of the Kingswood Youth Center participate in trick or treat in Clark Park during the trick or treat hours. Somebody here for that? Okay. Would like to make a motion? See, that's coming right up.
I move that we accept the proposal for the Kingswood Youth Center and Wolfeboro Parks and Rec. Have members of the Kingswood Youth Center participate in Trick or Treat Clark Park during the trick or treat hours, permit number 1953.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next one is Lucas Roasting Company to host a fundraiser for Best Buddies at 7 King Street, November 2nd, 2019, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Anybody here for that? Okay. Would you like to just come up and explain what you're doing?
So I'm on the Best Buddies Advisory Board, and we're just going to have a modest...
Excuse me, would you just state your name, please?
My name is Shelley Espin-Lang. I'm on the Best Buddies Advisory Board. We're going to have a fundraiser. All proceeds will go to Best Buddies, New Hampshire. It's Vermont and Maine are being added on, so it's expanding. It's going to be a modest little event. I was going to have 2 little craft tables, face painting, and a couple people are donating some baked goods and all. And then we're not sure if we're going to charge $5 to participate in everything or charge for each thing, but then charge for the baked goods, and then all proceeds will go to Best Buddies. We're going to put a little tent, which I think I just found out today we may need a tent permit We were going to put a tent in their front parking lot, and then people who come can park in their back parking lot.
Can you tell us about Best Buddies?
Yeah, so Best Buddies is a nonprofit organization that promotes inclusion of people with disabilities. And what I particularly like about Best Buddies is it really integrates people with and without disabilities to work together and become leaders together, and it facilitates true friendship and facilitates people with disabilities, different various abilities, to work in the workplace, you know, with salary, have real quality jobs. And so there's Best Buddies programs in schools. I'd love to get one in our school system. There's not. And then there's Best Buddies programs in corporations where adults are working and side by side.
I'll move that we approve the Lucas Roasting Company to host a fundraiser for Best Buddies, 7 King Street, on November 2nd, 2019, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next on our agenda is our bulk vote. Weekly manifests, intent to cut. Board appointments, which there aren't any. Next is,
You want a motion?
sure.
Make a motion to accept the bulk vote.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is September Expenditure Review Report, the Finance Director.
Good evening. So I sent out my my memo and packet. Granted, you got it a little bit with a shorter time frame than normal, but I'm here to present to you the current expense run rates, where we are compared to the target run rate as of the end of September. Minded that we budget and we do these funding rates based on a 1/12, and that doesn't always capture when we have bulk expenditures, so we don't necessarily match the timing of the expenditure to the way we budget. But being at the end of September 30, the target funding rate for the funds should have been at 75%. The general fund was at 83.501%, which is a negative variance of 8.501%. The water fund was at 82.845%, which is a negative variance of 7.845%. The electric fund was at 42.886%, so a favorable variance of 32.114%. Sewer fund at 83.435%, with a negative variance of 8.435%. Pop Whalen, it was at 66.387% for a positive variance of 8.613%. Overall, across the whole budget, across all funds, our overall expense rate was 67.546%, so a positive variance of 7.54%. A couple of things that are driving that. One is we always see a bump when the administrative allocations are applied in the month that they're applied. Two, the healthcare bill again was paid in September, so we had 2 landed in September, so there's another $180,000 that is increasing. Also, we had for the cable TV, we had a $34,000 expenditure in the executive budget that helps expand on that. So overall, where we are, when you first look at the face value and you say, wow, we seem to be running ahead, but we start making the adjustments and you start smoothing it out, I feel very confident that where we're going to land at the end of the year. As we're doing the budget season, people are really now looking at where they are and tightening up their belts and really looking at, gee, where am I going to land, and am I going to have any extra money this year to be able to get ahead of, to pick up anything that maybe they originally were going to delay for next year. So that's, where we are as far as the financial status.
Sorry, why is the electric fund so underspent?
So actually, I'm glad you asked. In October, Barry will have a huge purchase power that will help bring it in. He had lower amounts earlier because he buys $3 million at a whack often. So he's going to have about $1 million that will clear in October, and that will bring his funding rate up.
No.
Yeah, I have a couple of them. There was in the capital outlay, there is the town hall server, and there's a minus $28,000, and you were going to check into that. Did you ever find out why we have that negative number of 28,000?
We had budgeted, I think, 35 for it, and I think it's 28 has been expended out of the 35, but I will recheck.
No, I think that we're over by 30.
Okay.
So I would like you to check on that. Cemeteries, part-time employees, we only spent 21% of that, those wages. Did we not have a staff person to do the cemeteries, or something's misposted?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Find out
we'll
from
check on
Christine.
that. I know that Christine had, she had budgeted for a certain amount of hours, and when we were in our budget meeting, she indicated that she had less hours that were actually being worked for that, but we'll verify.
Yeah, that's 21%. That's
Yeah.
pretty low. I also looked, when I was looking at the Public Works Administrative Supervisor salary, that was at 77.51% spended. Then I looked at the water distribution, which was 69.737, and then sewer at 71.228, and it looks like the allocation's off, that we've got too much in public works and not enough spread out on those. The pages that concerned me the most was in the back when we were looking at the revenues, and on the revenue on page 6, the water, we have only water charges were at 69.144%, which seems low. That sounds like we're not selling as much water. But then when I go over to page 7, revenue for the sewer fund, and this is residential sewer sales, is only 54.205. So I'm concerned that we aren't going to bring in enough revenue on those two budgets. So would you just check that? I didn't have time. I usually have time to send these to Troy ahead of time with all the budget stuff. I just didn't have time, but those are a few questions I have, and I can email them to you if that would help.
I greatly appreciate that, Linda.
That's all I have.
Anybody have any other questions? Okay, thank you, Troy.
I think I'm the next item on the agenda. So.
You the next one too? Okay. Administrative allocation?
Yes. So the town manager and the finance director were asked by the budget committee and the board of selectmen to review the administrative allocation calculation. The prior methodology had been in place for 14 years with little surviving documentation to support the allocation calculation. The goal of the exercise was to develop a new allocation that was objective and was based on quantitative factors. For that direction, we have included the criteria used, the results of the methodology that we have produced for the 2019 budget, and I compared them, the both. So basically, I want to lay out the criteria that we used for the allocation methodology. Was we looked at department budget size to the total overall budget of the town. We did include power purchase, the power purchase account for the electric department for the following two reasons. One, the town must submit a notarized copy of its balance sheet and income statement, including unrestricted fund balance, every quarter to facilitate the power purchase transaction. And two, the funds for the power purchases come directly from the general fund and require more due diligence when we have to do the wire transfer. So we're basically standing behind that transaction, and that, when you're talking a $7 million item throughout the year, that's a lot of risk. So that's why we felt it was appropriate to include that. The second piece of criteria that we used was the number of employees in each respective fund to the total number of employees. And that was to try to encapsulate the work from a payroll, HR perspective, including IRS reporting. The next item that we looked at was we took what our IT service contract from Block 5 that we use, and we just looked at the total number of devices that are serviced, whether, you know, laptops or desktops, and including firewalls and other pieces, and just looked at that, took that, broke that out, and times it by the number of each department for their devices that are covered by that contract. Then we looked at, you know, the big question was about billing. Well, we took the total number of bills, not the dollar amount of the bills, but the actual number of bills, because it doesn't matter for Brenda's group whether it's a $5 bill or a $50 million bill. It takes the same amount of time for them to process. So we looked at the total number of bills. So we took the total number of electric bills and divided it by the average number of bills collected. We did the same for the water bill, sewer, and the tax bills. And so, you know, based on that, what we had, and I was quite surprised actually to see the final results of the allocation, the way it came out. When you look at the old methodology, the total administrative allocation was $691,217. We applied the new allocation, it was $742,948.91 for a difference of $51,731.91, which said to me that when the allocation was originally put together, there was some foresight and some thought. We just didn't have the documentation to support where it came from. We say you run one methodology for 14 years and then you come back and you look at it and, gee, we're only, you know, $51,000 difference at the end of the day. But the big change was, you know, that's the net change, right? It's 51,700 and some change. But the big piece was in where the percentages, which departments picked up. And, you know, the water department, you know, the water fund, you know, will see a decrease in their allocation of $20,390.48. The electric would take an increase of $97,851.79. The sewer fund would see an increase of $14,629.84, and Pop Whalen would see a reduction of $40,359.24. So with a $51,000 increase in the allocation from the DRA standpoint, that counts as revenue, and therefore that would have an impact on the tax rate of, you know, 2 cents per thousand.
Anybody have any questions of Troy on that? Can we get a copy of that?
We did review this, the town manager and I.
Okay.
We did review this with two members of the budget committee earlier this week, and it was favorably received.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Troy.
Okay, sidewalk improvements on North Main Street. This is basically to acknowledge that we have received a packet, if you will, from Laurie Sutherland in reference to the sidewalks on North Main Street. I think the departments, mainly Mr. Ford, do you want to address that quickly? Because we don't have any information other than what she gave us.
Her petition, yeah. This is a stretch just up, going off North Main Street by Sewell Road, and last year it was really breaking up pretty bad. And you know how we have a parking area that's on a very steep angle, and then we have a grass strip, and then we have a sidewalk. It had got so bad that we felt we had to do something, so we patched it, and we patched the grass area, so it's kind of a sidewalk, slope, and then parking area. So there's a transition there without any telling the people, hey, there's a change in grade here. She had come to me and said that she saw some lady fall down, and I don't know how much she had put in the petition there. And I've had not heard from anyone else. I was there again this, because we did it before the parade last year, and again this year. I didn't see a lot of problem with it, so I'm really struggling with, is it a real safety factor that we have to respond to right away? Or is it something that, yeah, I'd love to be able to fix it, but it's about 200 feet of curb we'd have to put in, and we'd have to rip out the asphalt, regrade it, so that we would have a curb and then a grass strip and then the sidewalk. So we would put that back in. At the time we did it, we just kind of paved it to get it done quickly. So you'd probably be looking at some need to do a design and put it out to bid. It's a curb job with some asphalt. So it's a tough one, and I'm not sure how many people signed the petition. She had her neighborhood.
Yeah,
13 there.
these is 13, 13 and 12.
25.
25 people signed it.
25.
So again, and I looked at it again, and I'm again, if I had my druthers, I would like to fix it. I think it would look nice, and I do think there is something to be made on their argument that it's not the greatest, but if you continue on the sidewalk going up, you'll see we have similar type problems. Maybe not as bad, but similar. So where do you stop? At some point, we're going to redo the whole strip, but again, I think we're trying to keep them passable, so the sidewalk is passable. You can get a wheelchair up. The parking's okay. Is the area in between? That's if someone's not paying attention, if they're not walking, they can kind of
Humble.
So again, at this point, I was going to try to put in a capital outlay, but I think we know what the budgetary issues are, and I did not do that. I think if we did, it'd be in a $20,000 range. And at this point, I think the board can do whatever you want.
Mr. Ryan?
A couple of questions, Dave. Thanks for this. Has there ever been an appropriation for that sidewalk?
North Main Street, I don't believe, take that back. Back, we were doing sidewalks in 2007, 2008. We did appropriation for South Main Street. Right. On North Main Street, we did a section, and I don't know if I did it with the general fund, so it wasn't a specific allocation. I don't remember it being a warrant article. Okay. The warrant articles we did was for South Main Street. We did a lot of work up there.
The reason I ask is this. The second question is, wasn't there a conversation, and I don't think it ever got traction, but wasn't there a conversation about extending the sidewalk all the way to Forest Road?
Yes. Okay, that's a separate issue. We have a trust.
Yes, I just I walked in and they were meeting and they had asked me, that was when Bob Stewart was still a trustee, and they are going to contact the state to see if that money had been properly moved over.
It was, and we appropriated money to do a design, and we have a design waiting for review.
Do you have
Well, we may need to go back to them. They were looking at it, and they were trying to see if they had all the paperwork signed. It may be just that they don't have it in their file.
So you have a design to move the sidewalk all the way to Forest Road?
Correct.
That would include the curbing and all the things you just said earlier that you
Well,
have to
it's
do?
separate. That's an extension. We don't have any sidewalk there, so that would be a new design. This fund was money that was for highway maintenance when
Yes.
that used to be a town road.
Yep.
I thought they had got a ruling that said they could spend it for a sidewalk long as it was along this road. But we couldn't use it for maintenance. It had to be new.
Okay.
As a result, we went out and hired Underwood engineers. We came up with alternatives. So we have two on either side, one on the cemetery side, one on the other side. And we just have not been able to get in front of you because of last year's issues and this year's issues. So it's sitting there and it's on the agenda. I mean, it's one of these points. So we need to come to you and see what you want to do with it. And then we complete the design. If the construction now is a big issue, we would only have 60 or 70,000 left in that fund. The construction would be much more expensive. But it's kind of on hold at this point. But that's a separate issue.
Yeah.
This is a maintenance issue that's closer to town.
Well, I certainly know that you're not going to be able to get anything together for this year's budget, so maybe you could look at it for next year, as far as pricing it out and so forth.
Yep, well, again, that's the day.
I mean, I don't think he's got,
Well,
is there enough time to do it for this year's warrant?
There's always time. The question is, there's no room in the budget. That's the
Right,
issue.
that's-
I don't know if I want to spend time doing it and then have it just get kicked out later because it came in late in the process. How do we say, is it really urgent or is just, I don't know where we would classify. So I'm struggling with it. That's why I haven't come with a recommendation. And I think it's in front of you. You can tell me to do an evaluation, come back with a recommendation.
I would like to, if you do an evaluation, then we have an idea whether we do have a safety issue or not, or whether there's something we could do in the meantime to, make a white line or something so they know there's a change in grade. There may be something we can just do simple while we wait, or you can come in and give us a price on what you think it would cost.
Also, on what side of the street, the left side of the street as you go up is a little flatter than the right side, as you go up toward
This is where the existing sidewalk is. There's no sidewalk on the other side, I don't think.
No, you said you put it on one side or the
We
other.
switch it. We got two subjects going, sorry.
Yeah, we got two
We switched
separate.
back. So they had asked about the extension, which is going to Forest Road. Yes, we have the option in either road, so that's a different discussion. This is the petition that's in front of you is a section of about 200 feet that we paved the area between the sidewalk and the parking.
No, I understand that. I read the petition, but I
That's
think
what they're talking about
it's
now.
part of a bigger program that maybe, like Linda said, we should find out exactly what the whole program is from there up to Forest Road or however far you want to go beyond Mill Street. If you're doing 200 feet, maybe you should do 800 feet. Maybe you don't want to do 200 feet. In other words, just figure out what we want to do.
Well, that's a good point, because like I said before, we fixed, and that's what we've done. We've piecemealed this sidewalk before. And that would be, it might make more sense because you have a scale of economy. If we do 1,000 feet, we rebuild it all, we can work with the state. It then would become with drainage and it becomes a much bigger project. So let me take a look at it and then give you an analysis of a patch repair, or like you said, maybe a temporary solution, and then maybe next year we can go into design and construction in 2021 because we have so many needs.
And we did. We used to do sidewalks every other year. Then we decided we wanted to do it every year, and then it kind of fell off the
Well, it bogged down
plan.
because we were trying to do the work all ourselves to make the dollars go further, and that's where it kind of got bogged down.
And we've done some work on South Main Street.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And that's going to take a fair amount of money when we do the Route 28. There's going to be a lot of sidewalk at that point done, if I'm correct.
Yes, that would be a big part of the project from Pickering Corner up, and that's coming in about 3 or 4 years. North Main Street would be nice to get a big project going, but that might be 10 years, so I'm not sure the sidewalk can wait. In the sidewalk, this area, we might be able to rebuild, but make it consistent all the way from Sewell Road, all the way up at least to Front Street, if not to Old Lakeland Terrace.
I think the conversation, I don't remember where I heard it, but I do remember it, was that the sidewalk on North Main Street, right-hand side going up, so this is the side that we're talking about. There were concerns, and I think you dealt with them beginning of last summer, not this past summer, but last summer with some paving. People were concerned about the fact that kids are being picked up and dropped off on school buses and having to cross North Main Street, and that was one of the reasons for extending the sidewalk up towards Forest Road. So if I understand correctly, you're going to assess the near-term strategy of just trying to fix what we have, but you're going to come back with a longer-term strategy of go further up the road?
Well, again, you tell me what to do. Dave mentioned that, and I think that's a good idea. I think Linda mentioned the idea of maybe we could do something cheap to warn people, whether it's a white line. I think that might be an acceptable short-term solution. So I put the two together.
I think with Linda's, and not putting words in her, I think we want to do something safe.
What does that mean? Then put 50,000 in the budget and I'll make it all safe.
Yeah.
We want to do something safe, especially when we're dealing with sidewalks. So you're going to have an intermediate strategy of trying to repair, put some curbing or something in the, up the road?
No.
I guess we'll wait until we see what you write down.
Right. So what I will do is there, look at the safety issue.
Yep.
Can we do something temporarily that may not be attractive, but it'll be safe to give at least some warning to the pedestrians? Then look at the whole stretch versus a piecemeal approach.
Yep.
So I will come back with some analysis on that, and then maybe we can respond to this petitioner that we discussed it, and that the selectmen have asked the Public Works to evaluate and get back to it. Does that sound like a good idea?
That sounds good.
It's good, Dave.
We all said, Jim, okay, we'll respond to Dave. Okay.
Okay, the next on the agenda is Public Works Capital Project Update.
So I was able to fit it all on one sheet this time, and that means it's a little smaller font, right? But
Getting smaller.
Yeah, and I started with the 2019, the biggest project we got going on right now. It's out of town, but if you live out in Pleasant Valley Road, you would have seen we started. This is a municipally managed bridge project that's being funded 80% by the state. The low bid contractor was R.M. Piper out of Plymouth, and Quantum Construction Engineering is our resident engineer, and the engineer, both those contracts have been issued, and right now they were mobilized, started clearing trees so we could relocate our utility poles. That's been done, and they're starting on that process now. Electric has already got on. We're still chasing the telephone. They started to build the temporary road, so as people come out, they will be aware that we will have a stop light, and there'll be a one-lane bypass road of the bridge, which will go on the right side as you're going out. And that right now, you can see the fill areas have been created. They're waiting for their approval on the sheet piling design that's going to be used. So at the end of that, they'll put some sheet piling on either side of the brook. They're going to put a temporary bridge over it. That'll be about a 30-foot span, and that'll be able to take a H-20 loading or a fire truck, a plow truck, but it'll be one lane, so we'll have traffic lights, and so there will be delays, and that'll start probably later this month or in November.
How are you going to plow? Do you have, are you going to be just dropping the sand and salt right into that wetlands?
Well, as we do now, unfortunately, everything gets up in the wetlands, so nothing's going to change from the way it's been forever. We don't have anything, everything drains right into the brook. So as we plow, we'll plow the snow and the salt and sand will all go as we. Now the new design will have drainage that's going to take it away from the brook, bring it around to a treatment swale, so the new design is going to have stormwater treatment.
We try not to over sand and stuff in that area. We can be, opposed to when sometimes it just flies out there and it's.
That's a very good point, and we can take a look at that because we're going to want to really slow speeds down. So as a result of that, we can be, try to be, we talk to the plow driver about being economical, salting smart.
Thank you.
So once we get that set up, then they can pull apart the bridge, and then we're going to be putting the bridge back in place, and that's what's going to create the construction zone, is the road itself. That work will continue through the winter time, and then they might be completing in February, but we won't be able to complete or reopen the road because we have to pave it. So we're going to have to wait until the pavement opens in May, and at that point, we'll be able to pave and open up. So we will have delays, and if anyone has any questions, I'd be more happy to answer them. Town road upgrades for 2019, we completed Keewaydin Road, College, and Trotton Track, and right now Pine Street's under construction. All the drainages have been installed. In the last couple of days, they've been ripping out the old pavement and the inadequate sub-base and putting it back in the good gravel base. They should finish that. They're probably tomorrow, with the storm coming tonight, we're going to be a little nervous tomorrow, so we won't be doing much work except trying to make sure that everything's put together, how much rain we get tonight. And then we'll finish up Friday or Monday, and then we'll be fine grading and then base paving, and then we're going to put in the curb and sidewalk and then patch that up. So that project seems to be going along pretty good and should be all set. The work on the Partridge BMPs, that's on hold. We're pending the wetland permitting, and we're still kind of stuck in a little bit of a quagmire there. We're waiting to hear back from them. I think we talked about that last time, some of the issues there. And then I'm working on the Bryant Road right now to put that out to bid with myself. I'm doing that in-house with the wetland scientists to get the permits, and we're hoping to get that out by the end of this month.
But Dave, if the Partridge Road BMP stays on hold, is that $64,000 lapse?
Nope, we have a budget. We have some money has gone in for engineering, so we're still holding like $42,000 for those BMPs within that 64. We're waiting for that permit and to see where that comes in. So I am holding that money for the spring. We'll see what happens at that point with the permit. We may want to have a discussion about that as we go forward, because if I need some more engineering dollars, unfortunately, we may have to go backwards before we go forward on that.
And am I correct that that was a 2-year warrant article?
It
And
was, yes.
So it can just run over to the next year?
Is it a 2-year article?
Yeah, I'm sure we did it 2 years.
It was,
Draw the question.
Yep. The Dockside public restrooms, we had 2 appropriations in 1918 for the $300,000. We've encumbered the bulk of that, $270,000, and we have about $24,000, $25,000 left. Things are going pretty well. We started the demo, and the next step now is to get Integrity as the subcontractor to the Milestone Engineering, and they'll be getting in there and pulling out the old foundation. What we found so far is good news. Everything is really solid, so everything on the top levels are good, so we're not worried about, we're worried about the foundation, and so we think there's no concern there. We did meet with, we talked to Mr. Rock about the landscaping area, and the utilities are going to come right out there, so we're going to be taking that pavement out anyways, and we're talking with the contractor who put in the stamped concrete matrix, so we're going to try to extend that same concept, the slate with maybe some brick as a highlight, and then in the middle we're looking at having a well with a tree potentially, and so we're going to be meeting with Mr. Rock next week to settle up on those site work details, and hopefully get that prepped, and then in the spring he'll bring in the landscaping. So that was going pretty well. The effluent disposal study, we had a really good meeting with DES, and everything was moving forward. But I also, at that meeting, we had concerns from Tufton Borough, and I wanted to make sure we really make sure we dot our I's, cross our T's with this. So I had this meeting with the board. I felt the need to go back to our expert witnesses, the people who helped us on this project but have not been involved in the design, and come back and do a peer review. So we brought back our team of scientists to take a look at this. We gave them a bunch of information that Underwood had developed, and we had a full day review, and they had a couple weeks to go in and figure out how could we strengthen this project? How can we extend the useful life of it? Where are the concerns? And we came up with a lot of good points on that. Some of it's a lot of quality control, looking at materials, and we also looked at cost savings, how we can do some cost savings. So we're taking that all in now and really challenging the engineer to give us a really good, robust design. And the big thing we're going to make the decision on, do we want to go out with a traditional project that we design, bid, and build, which would then qualify us for the state revolving fund loan money and potentially some loan forgiveness, which is some benefit, but that does come with red tape. That comes with a lot of requirements. There might be Buy American things, and it just complicates the project, so the cost goes up. If we were to do a design build, working with potentially a local contractor and myself as the project engineer under the concept, construction is not going to be 2020, it's going to be 2021. I believe we can reduce that cost. So I'm going to bring to you analysis of doing it traditional and doing it design build, show you what the risks are and what the reward would be. And so that's what we're working on now, as well as we are working on the wetland permitting. And we do need to get in front of Tufton Borough. We have been on hold because we wanted to do this peer review and enhance the design before we started showing the design. So we will probably have a preliminary meeting with Tufton Borough. We're going to call for a kind of a joint meeting for informational, kind of give them an idea what we're planning on doing, and also explain to them, because we're in no rush now, because the construction is not going to be for 2021, we want to make sure it's done properly, so that's why they haven't seen it. So I want to make sure they're not nervous about that. So we're going to be contact them. So that is going along well. The pilots are also continue to be monitoring, and we are still learning from those, and that's going to again help us in our final design. Any questions on RAVs? We're all set there. Okay. The highway and solid waste vehicles, we were ready to roll right after we got the town meeting approval. So the Volvo, the front end loader was a Volvo with the wing that came in under our budget of 150, and the Chevy 1-ton pickup, we picked a state bid up, and we got that in a little under budget also. The capital reserve fund on the wastewater treatment plant, we are completing work from last year, so we had some punch list items. A contractor had to get everything done. It was substantially complete, and we're using it, but he couldn't get him back to clean up his mess. They finally have cleaned up the mess, and now we're working on the electrical design, and we're not sure whether we'll start that later this year or whether we'll get next year's money, and then we'll have a bigger contract. So that's going to come probably in the next couple of months. The Cary Beach Water Quality Study, appropriation of $50,000. That was purchase order was issued to Underwood Engineers early, right after town meeting, but there was a delay for the survey, and that survey kind of held up our meeting with Parks and Rec, so we did fall behind. We rushed and did put a plan in front of the CIP committee. Right now, we are looking at that again to make sure that we understand the money we're investing and what return we're going to get with regards to nutrients being removed to the lake. It's kind of a metric that as we go forward, when they do the 319 grants, they want to know if you do a BMP, a best management practice, it's a stormwater treatment. How many pounds of phosphorus are you taking out of the lake? And that's a key metric. So we're trying to get Underwood to give us those metrics. If we do this design, how much, and we're also looking, it doesn't need to be a demonstration project. We've done enough of those. This wants to be solid engineering so that the money we're spending, we can make sure we're protecting the lake. The other part of this project is the septic system. I think last time I told you, we were kind of focusing on stormwater first. I am somewhat concerned about the septic system, and we're going to be doing test bits, and there'll be an evaluation of that. So that report's going to be forthcoming on that also. But we did go forward with the CIP committee, and I think we did increase that project to $450,000, and there may be a potential for that to come down after we have some more value engineering on that.
Dave, is the narrative here now because 2 weeks ago when we visited at the Selectmen's meeting, you mentioned that things had changed from the CIP and that we were going to have a work session, or you proposed that we would have a work session to discuss this. Is this narrative now an accurate narrative? This narrative you have here?
The septic system will require significant upgrades or elimination. May need to be removed. So that's after we do the test bits, we're going to come back with what impact we think it's having now,
right.
And then we're going to make a decision. We could go with a cheap solution, remove the leach field, and put in porta-johns, thereby downgrading the service, but trying to not make it very, trying to keep people away. Or do we then invest in getting a expensive leaching field and try to find an area far enough from the lake so we know that's not going to come back? Or do we do the big ticket item, which is the idea of putting a sewer system in and trying to pump it? And that's where you start to get to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you're wondering, geez, do we really want, if we do that, now we're going to encourage more people because we build a nice septic system and nice,
There's always there was another conversation about the house that has a tank.
That's
so is this the narrative? This one right here. These words is this now the plan of record?
I don't know how there's question marks in it, so how can that be the narrative?
Narrative. Is your comments, is this the plan of record here? I was just confused, like, at the CIP, we had one plan. 2 weeks ago, you said, look, we've discovered some new things, because you went to a meeting and found out that if a septic system is within 300 feet of the lake, it's adding nutrients to the lake.
More
right?
impact than I was.
Yeah. And so you kind of said to, at least I heard, you need to sit down and kind of noodle this through together and figure out what the priorities are.
Right.
That's fine. I'm cool with that. I'm just asking is what you've written down here the plan of record that you're going on, or we still need to have that work session?
I think that what's missing here is that there's testing ongoing, and then we can answer the question about whether the septic system will require significant upgrades or eliminations, may need to be removed, but we're not going to know that until you get your test results. So what's missing out of the narrative is we need the test results.
Right, so we should put in here, pending the Underwood's report. Once we do the test bits, we do the full analysis, so you're going to get a detailed report on that. Then we can answer the questions. So maybe that's what
I'm just trying to make sure I can go to a place where I can read something and say, that's what we signed up to do.
Okay, we'll just add in that report from URI coming within, say, 45 days. We're going to do the test bits tomorrow, but with the rain, we put it off to next week.
Probably doubtful. Now, what's going to happen with the, or will this tank issue still be a consideration?
Yes, well, that's going to be part of the report. So we're going to look at how that came to be, to find out. We may end up having to talk to the health officer about the situation, but it is definitely of concern, and we want to talk to the property owner, get them involved in the discussion. I think we need to work together on it. Obviously, it's a seasonal house that is, I don't know how it's there, but we got to figure out
It's
what
there.
we can do.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Been there for many, many, many.
Many years, yeah.
Right,
There.
but it still doesn't have.
It's there.
Well, that doesn't, but that's how long it's been there.
Right. Okay, the next one is municipal maintenance, and I would like to pass on that. So the next item is
Can
specific.
I ask a question? I emailed Troy. This is just the 2019 appropriation. Do we have any accumulated appropriations for other years? And
Yep.
Troy, were you able to find that figure out?
I can we looked at it together. So we at the end of the year, we had just short of 90,000, 90-some thousand. They say 97,000. Looks like we've committed 7,000 already this year, so it's down to 90,000. And then once the trustees can put the money in, we haven't transferred the money yet, so technically there's another 50,000 going in. So we'll have about 140,000 in that capital reserve fund.
Thank you, that's what I was looking for.
And then as we present this year, we're also going to list other buildings and projects where we, expect to spend that last year. So last town meeting, I talked about painting the railroad station, which is what we want to bring forward. And then we have this energy issue, savings on lights we want to talk about with the highway garage. And I think what we'll do is continue to work on that program. We're building up that fund, but there'll be many projects coming, and then we can then start setting priorities.
That's why I was looking to see how much we had built and how much we had spent.
Yep. Okay, the water quality improvement warrant article was also 50,000, and basically we issued a purchase order to the Lake Winnipesaukee Association. They're working on the watershed management plan for the Wolfeboro Bay and watershed in Winter Harbor. That is going along well. They're building it slowly. FB Environmental is doing a lot of work, and we're working with them. Working with the Cyanobacteria Committee and Warren Muir, we have taken over 100 surface water samples. They've been analyzed by UNH, so we're building an incredible database. These are from different points around Winter Harbor at different times of the year. We've been lucky this year. We've been able to borrow equipment, so we didn't have to purchase, which we originally thought we did. We're not sure we're going to give it back or they're going to charge us, so we still at the end of the year trying to figure out the finances there. We are working with the Communication Committee, and we have a proposal to do a professional webpage design, and we're also looking at using a drone to lock in and take pictures from just above all the known stormwater outlets, so that we can kind of also take, not only have a physical reading, but we can have a picture, so that if we can see growth of algae, and that's to try to create this database as we go along. So we do anticipate using up the money, and we do anticipate coming to the board looking for a similar appropriation next year to continue on the work the Cyanobacteria Committee is doing. And we also want to expand it to Wolfeboro waters. I think we want to not be so focused on just cyanobacteria in Winter Harbor, but I think the idea is Wolfeboro waters, and we're talking about water quality is for all our watersheds.
I thought there was 15,000 for the Lake Wentworth Watershed Association.
That's true. That's also in the encumbrance, so we have 15,000 going to them, and that is it's a with Matt's working on in the next phase 3, I
Okay,
believe.
so that's still there.
Oh yeah, that's been allocated to them, so that's the encumbrance.
What's that allocation?
15,000.
Yeah, what's it do?
So it's matching money to go along with the projects that just went out to bid. Camp Bernadette. So there are BMPs, Wentworth Association has put some money in it, and we have put money, and then we're getting a grant from DES. So it's all three sources. Okay, sewer I&I reduction. We kind of have met our requirements with the DES and our administrative order and now doing our studies. This design was to lay out a project so that we can do a next sewer reduction of inflow. But it's been slow because I'm trying to parlay it with another project to make sense. Right now, it's all spot repairs, and that's what we're looking at. And if we find an emergency, we did find one a couple of weeks ago, which we were able to get in and get fixed. So we do anticipate wrapping this up at the end of this year with Underwood and having a set of plans. We do not propose that for 2020. We feel we can hold off at least to 2021. And again, my hope would be, because you know how the sewer is funded is by the capital, if we could push this off after we complete the RIB project. My hope is that if we can bring that in under the budget, then we have some of that money we could apply to this, so we wouldn't have to go asking the general government for more at that point. Bay Street Sidewalks, this money was for the Underwood engineers. We've had the meetings with the community, 2 stakeholder meetings, and we've come up with a design. Right now, because we've been frugal with this money, we can start the survey, so we're going to do an additional survey, and then we are looking at additional appropriations so that we can have construction drawings and permits and easements. There are going to be necessary for a lot of easements. We did find a lot of public support for a design which basically called for some curb and sidewalk in the lower section when we get to the restaurant, and then from there on, basically it will be just a shoulder with a narrow travel area with a wider shoulder, so that we can maintain it easy, so that we could not have such an impact on front properties, and also minimize impact with utility poles. So that design is moving forward. I think the CIP committee did push it forward. I think the design was there. Mm-hmm. The Dockside docks expansion. This was design money that's in the permitting, so we have still a few dollars left, and Ty and Bond is working with us. We have submitted a permit for dock restoration in phase 1, and we have a CIP which we would use. We're looking at a $200,000 grant, which we net $130. The DES takes $70,000 of it. We would then add $100,000 from our capital reserve fund, and then we are looking at an appropriation of $170, for a total of $400,000. That would take care of all the docks. As you're looking out to the water on the left-hand side, we'd be able to repair the bulkhead. At the end, where we have some problems with the granite, and then all the docks would be repaired from the poles up. All the decking would be this, and all be legal. And we're looking at different types of that. So that's right now, that's in with the permit. So our hope is we get the permit, we get our authorization, and that project would go in.
When do you think the big grant comes in? When do you know?
I think by the end of the year. I think we should know, and that's what our hope is, so that by the time we get to town meeting, we might be able to have good news saying that we've got that grant, so that would help us. But the intent was it would be awarded and ready for us for construction in 2020. The North Wolfeboro Road, as you may recall, we had a special appropriation that came from us from the state at the end of the year. We put all that money into North Wolfeboro. It took a little time. We did it in 2 phases, but if anyone's been up there lately, it does look really good. This is the one also, we had a lot of debate on the width of the road. Mm-hmm. It used to be 22 feet. I was kind of, saying we should bring it down to 20. We had a resident who wanted to go 18. We compromised at 19. I still thought that was narrow, but with the 2-foot shoulders, it really looks good. So I don't know if you've got any feedback, but I think it's something I'm considering for Bryan Road now. I think with the 2-foot shoulders, we'll see how it works with this winter in terms of a big truck passing a plow truck. That'll be the real test. But I think it turned out pretty good, and we did put a lot of work into the drainage and basin. Hopefully that road will hold up nice for them now. Center Street reconstruction, that one seemed like it would never end. It started in 2013, and here we are 6 years later, and it looks like it's done. Right now, we're just doing little punch list items. Some of the trees and landscaping is warranted, so we're worried about a few trees. We need to close it out, and then we'll get our reimbursement, because this also was municipally managed, 2/3 and state paid for, so we have some money coming back to us on that. And I think that's all the projects there. So is there any other questions you might have or anything else, I'd be more than happy to
Do
answer.
we need a vote on the,
I have a question, not on one of your projects, but I would also like to see something similar in terms of the amount spent on the library, because when we look at our financial reports, the way it is, that it looks like it's overspent. I think it's just, you know, some was spent one year and another. So if we could have something similar, it's just a separate sheet of paper, so we know where that library project is. I think that's something we should have.
Yeah, I can work with Cindy and Milestone on that, see what their numbers are.
Just
It
see,
should
keeps
be,
us updated. They've done wonderful in terms of what's going on, but we really don't have the update on the financials.
well, related to that, we had a brief chat about this the other evening. When the library is done, and maybe you don't know, David, maybe you can find out, are we going to get a set of as-bills, and are we going to get an asset management plan?
Good question, and the answer is yes on both counts. We have been working with them, the architect. They are now holding all the shop drawings and all the mechanical. So when we start to doing startup and testing, we're supposed to be there with them, and everything, we're going to have a hard copy of everything, the old-fashioned way. Nice. We're also going to get an electronic copy. Nice. In terms of the asset management plan, I would say that we're looking at this building, and that building should be, because it's new, and we definitely want to get the critical items. So we're going to try to simplify it and look at what are the, in the first 10 years, what are the issues we're going to be concerned with mostly. And so the answer is yes and yes.
So there'll be some kind of a, I agree on this building, but on that building, there'll be some kind of a deliverable, something that we can pick up and kind of go, for year 5, we probably should look at doing something.
Yep.
Okay.
And there'll be a value to that.
Yeah.
And then we'll see, okay, and then that building would then be incorporated into the overall capital reserve fund. So as we start to document these needs, that fund will continue to grow, because once we add all the needs in over the time. So, but that's, yeah, we can do that.
Can I one more? On the Pleasant Valley Road project, it's a big nut. State's going to do it. Is there any continuing obligation we have on that project once the state is done? They've done their work.
You're talking about the Pleasant Valley Road Bridge?
Yes.
So that is a municipally managed. The only thing they're doing is providing money and design approval, and they oversee that. But they have been very hands-off. So we will be responsible for the maintenance of it. We're responsible for the construction of it.
So I'm leading the witness here. So will you be providing something that says, and maybe it's in your road service management plan, now that it's done, 2 years from now we're going to do this, 3 years from now, is something going to go in your road service management plan for?
Nope, we have a bridge management plan.
Bridge management plan,
yeah,
okay.
Because we have more than one, and it does as a subset of highway, but we've already developed for all the other bridges, maintenance requirements, yearly, semi, so that will go into it. This one is going to be, again, brand new, and it's going to include a stormwater treatment system, so we will definitely put in, some of us saw the oversized sumps, so we're going to try to collect most of the sand in the sumps, but then we have a treatment swale before it hits back into the wetland. So this is really going to be a good project, and I think, so to that end, yeah, asset management will be tied into that.
Thank you, Dave. Okay.
Next one.
Next one, yep. Capital expenditure.
So we, in accordance with the Article 29, which is this, in which we set up the capital building maintenance capital reserve fund, and it was for the purpose of making needed repairs and performing needed maintenance on town buildings. We are requesting to paint the railroad station building. CertaPro was the low bid on that for $11,950.62. As we know, the railroad station is a very old historic building, and it's wood. And we painted it, it seemed like just yesterday, but it was probably 7, 8 years ago. Paul Kimball was around at the time. So that was when we did the major rest. So this is the one that, again, we will, again, the asset management plan should define every 8 to 10 years it's going to need to be painted. And it's just, if we can get it approved tonight, I think we still get it done this year. So that's what we were hoping to do, if you guys are okay with that one. And then the second one was the at the highway garage. We have been using Brennan Electric, a local contractor, and switching over the old lights to the LED lights for cost-saving measures, and the quality of the lights now are good. We're also having problems with the on-off automatic sensors, and that seems to be a problem in big garages, so we probably have a design flaw so we can fix both things at the same time. And so we think it's a good investment that'll, I don't have the payback, but I would say that, again, we've got to fix a problem, plus there is a payback on that one. So hopefully we can get approval on both of those tonight. Have any questions on those?
Yeah, I just have one, Dave, on the painting for the railroad station there. Was when Paul Kimball did that a few years ago, was that all the lead paint abated at that time and stuff, or was that possibly an issue here with this time around?
No, because we abated all the lead paint inside.
Yeah.
And on the outside, we scraped off and cleaned up the outside, but this is now, I don't think we have much scraping now, so we don't have any issues with that. We only have a couple areas where we have some scraping to be done. They will take precaution on those just in case if we get into the lower stuff, but I don't think it's going to require major abatement because there's only a few areas that need scraping.
I just one, and good that we're doing LED, so that you get these big hanging down cans, is that what you have, that in the garage? Big lights?
They are long, narrow lights.
Those big guys. Okay. So Matt was in here the other day with somebody.
Yes.
Is it one and the same?
He was getting budgetary numbers.
Yeah.
It was not the same contractor.
Okay.
Bigger outfit.
I don't know if there's any synergies by,
I would think he's going to get a budget number, and then hopefully when it comes time to bid, this is a much bigger project, and many more lights here, that we will see whether this guy could bid on it, because he's a smaller contractor,
Okay.
but he might be able to do this job.
yeah, any way we can double up would be great. Okay, thanks, Dave.
But I think we need a vote on this one?
Yeah. And that we've had questions with regards to the use of the building maintenance cap reserve fund. Dave had questioned me about this, and I felt that it warranted coming in front of you. That's why you see it in front of you today, because I'm supportive of it. I think these projects are worthy of going forward, and I hope that we can get your support on this so that Dave can get these projects complete.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we move forward on the LED lighting and painting of the railroad station.
Second.
Any further discussion? I think we've had enough. Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, David.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Dave.
much, appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.
Jim, I have one question. Did we take some money out of here for the foundation work at the Libby?
Yeah, there was 5,000 taken from the Libby, and I believe there was 3,500 taken for the generator repair at the Public Safety Building.
Okay, so the Libby Museum on repairs has about $8,000, and I didn't know if that overspent on that line, and I was wondering if that was the foundation.
That's exactly what it is. It hasn't.
So it had been
gone
flipped
back
out.
in.
Okay,
Correct.
just was wondering.
Thank you. You are absolutely correct.
Regulation of the town.
Okay, next on our agenda is the 2020 budget, police, central dispatch, and animal control.
Yeah, we'd like to table this item. We've got some more work to do with Chief Rondo and his team. Chief Rondo is getting ready to go on vacation, and he won't be back before your last meeting. So the question is, would you be available on November 4th or 5th to be able to meet with the police department? And I believe the preferred date is the 5th, which is a Tuesday evening.
Is he going to bring dinner? Are you going to bring dinner?
Yeah, lasagna.
No.
No dinner? You're not bringing dinner? We're not available.
4th or 5th is fine with me, either one.
I got written in here, the 5th is an election day, isn't it?
There is no election.
There is what?
There is no election.
No election on the 5th, okay.
I did verify that with the town clerk.
November 4th, is that the 5th? Which day?
November 5th, whether we could meet to go over the police department budget?
We're not doing it tonight.
No,
No.
Tuesday.
there's some things they still have to do. Are you free on the 5th?
Do you have any budget committee stuff going on?
There is not, the budget committee does not meet, I believe, until the 13th.
I'm fine with that.
Does somebody want to make a motion for the 5th?
So moved.
Second.
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock? Or that?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Okay, who's bringing dinner?
I signed up for the last recancel, so no.
All right, we'll work on that.
Work on that.
We have a little bit of time.
You have to bring your own pizza.
That's right.
Okay, next on the agenda is preambulation of the town line.
Yeah, you should have a letter in front of you that we had received from Tufton Borough. They're requesting
Nominate Paul
that
to
we
do
look
this.
into this. This is all new to me, so I'm looking for some guidance.
We did the perambulation of the town on the other side a few years ago.
I mean, they've done the New Durham Wolfeboro. I did that one.
Is the board good with me reaching out to
Yeah.
Sure.
Tufton Borough and get this started? We will work on that.
See how they want to do it.
Paul, do you have hiking boots?
Yeah, do we literally have to walk this thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Seeing as how you're the youngest here.
Troy, new guy,
Markers and things like
new
that.
guy.
There are.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is the bid for the town report.
So, I know there's been much discussion with regards to the town reports. Amy, the executive assistant, has reached out to some communities with regards to a larger size. The thought process is we're getting ready to put out the RFP for the town reports. There is an added cost associated with the larger books, but it, as you can see, is
It's readable.
extremely readable.
I sent a message to the town manager that we need at least 10-point type in everything. We don't need a magnifying glass.
Yeah, so it seems to be a nice document. It's much easier to read. It is a little bit larger, but I think for our citizens, it's a much better deliverable. So we'd like to get a little bit of feedback from the board as to what their thoughts are and what direction they'd like for us to head.
I think Dave's right. We need the larger type. That's even
Yeah, I
with the
think
larger.
the first one that
It's
was
better.
had larger.
But yeah, I like that. I would also be willing, I don't,
It's like 8-point type.
that's what I
It's
just
too
said.
small.
Yeah. I would be willing, I think we still have some money in our miscellaneous Board of Selectmen fund. I think it's well worth it for us to make it more readable. I mean, when I wanted to take a look at what was left in our capital reserve accounts, I had to go get a magnifying glass.
Yeah,
So I could even get them clean enough, so I think it's important that we spend the money to get a bigger book. That's where I am.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow the town manager to investigate another printer after we submit the page count and send the printer what we have in it, and then make a decision based on his good judgment, but all the type to be 10 points or larger.
Yeah, we can take and run with that, and report back to you.
Everybody in agreement with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is other business. Committee reports. Paul?
Budgets. All week, every night. That's it. Thank you.
That's what you signed up for.
Thank you.
Yeah, same thing, I've had budgets, we've been meeting quite regularly with that, and also this morning we had a Wolfeboro Community TV meeting. Timothy gave us an update where we're at and stuff up there, so that's been it for me.
Okay, I had none. David?
The library trustees met, and we went through the library, and it's coming along very nicely, very impressive, and still a lot of interior work to be done. And the budgets, we were all there. And then the Economic Development Committee, maybe Linda will say a little more about it because we were both there, it's particularly dynamic. There are a number of different things. Peter Cook of the Pickering House, it plans to develop the building to the right of his place, the old Avery House, into a new hotel or an adjacent hotel or facility with lodging called the Pavilion, named after the old Pavilion. Then there was some heated discussion about why the Libby Museum is being budgeted ahead of the dock expansion. I'll let Linda mention that.
You just mentioned it.
No,
You
that
took
was,
care of it.
no, that was, but it was a very, very active discussion about what's going on, and everything, and also the idea of parking and things, what we should do about parking, and which is the perennial problem that no one's ever been able to solve. Should we have, for example, half-hour parking on Railroad Avenue because people that run in and out of Bradley's Hardware, someone suggested that only takes 15 minutes, so why have a 2-hour parking space when we can have better turnover? If someone wants to buy tickets at Black's, there are no spaces there because people are sitting there for 2 hours, so we should possibly have some short-term parking. The idea of the 4th of July parking last year in the center of town being eliminated, it was thought to be a good idea, and reinforcing with the police department, I believe, is going to do more this year up to Pickering Corner. But anyway, what else did I forget, Linda?
I think you did an excellent job.
Okay.
And I attended that same meeting with him. The Special Events Committee that puts on last night, Wolfeboro, we met. We're working diligently to get all our entertainment booked and find sites for all of the entertainment. I went to the Chamber's board meeting, and Paul, I saw you for a little bit. We went to the Chamber Social tonight, and I've joined these men for many, many budget hearings.
Hey, town manager's report.
First is the Libby. I've been approached by Alana. You may be aware that she had an arborist down there go through and look at the facility. There's a series of trees that really need to come down.
Where's this?
At
The Libby Museum.
Libby.
So there's some trees that need to come down. Alana would like to come forward and propose having those trees taken down and utilize the trust to be able to remove those trees. It's been recommended by the arborist that those trees come down. I'm just looking for some guidance before I come forward with further documents that she may have, if that's something the board would be interested in entertaining.
That's the Stroff Trust?
That is a Stroth Trust, which I believe has about $80,000 in that fund.
Now, there was a proposal, I think Alana knows about this, a few years ago, having an arboretum there, and then there is part of an arboretum with different types of trees. So if Alana's not up on that, she should check so you don't cut down a rare tree because it's in the way.
She's very in tune with that, and again, the arborist came down and felt that these trees, they're a threat. They're starting to rot from the inside, and now is the time to harvest them. So I'll come forward with that document at the next meeting.
Well, if it's a safety issue, then we need to find the money to fix it.
Well, they have a trust fund that they could do it out of. We
If it's a
just
safety
need a
issue.
price tag.
If it's a discretion issue, then that's, I think Mr. Bowers is right. I guess there are some plantings down there that have some strategic, purpose, some of those trees. But, I mean, if a tree's going to fall on the building, that was probably a good reason to take it down.
Yeah, and you guys are, the Board of Selectmen are the ones who are the trustees of that one, so
Yeah.
we'll bring that forward. Also, I've been asked to come in front of the board many of the employees in this building on Halloween night would like to open up the lobby for the purposes of giving candy out to trick-or-treaters. We'd like your endorsement to be able to do that.
Sounds good to me.
Doesn't seem like there's much of a problem there. And lastly is budgets. We just have been into budgets, and it's been a learning experience for sure. It's been a lot of fun. It's been interesting, and it's been exhausting. That's all I have.
Any questions from the press? Okay, public input. Limited to 3 minutes per resident. Is there anybody here who wishes to talk to us? Yes, sir. State your name when you come up, please.
Mark Pastor, 10 Osseo Drive, Wolfeboro. A little over a week ago, I wrote you guys a letter and the planning board. I'd like to read you just a short letter. I'd like to preface everything with, I appreciate everything that you do. Dear members of the Selectmen and Planning Boards, a little over a week ago I sent both boards a letter that stated my science-backed concerns about the harsh LED street lighting in Wolfeboro. Our most precious possession is our health and the health of our community. By our community, I mean all living organisms in our environment, not just us. Often we cannot correct damage once it is done. Sometimes we can. I urge you all to vote to replace the existing streetlights with 3,000 K or less. The current world international standard is 2,700 K LED lighting that have far more benefits than drawbacks. The old harsh LED lights can be sold. There are hydroponic areas that can use them. Wolfeboro should be the light that points to a pleasant future and a welcoming environment. I hope that you have had some time to check more facts about LED lighting. If you did not, I printed some for you, which you may freely reproduce and share, knowing that you're busy. I highlighted some areas for you. Again, thank you for your time, and I'd just like to comment on 2 things mentioned tonight. The gentleman that gave the long report said that the railroad station is next for LEDs. I wonder if we could put the 2,700 or 3,000 K lights in that area. It would give you a first-hand comparison. And I think after you read some of the things that I found on Dark Skies International, I think you'll agree with me. The other thing is, Ms. Murray and the rest of you, thank you for making the yearly report a larger one.
Sir, when your letter arrived, I recommended that our electric department person look at it, Mr. Muccio, Barry, and then he report to the board on what he thought about your letter. Okay. So is that in effect?
Well, it's in process.
Yeah, in process. It says in process, and thank you for the letter.
Thanks.
Anybody else wish to speak to us? Suzanne?
Suzanne Ryan. A couple of weeks ago, you had a discussion about the Albee Beach right-of-way / road. I found, I knew it rang a bell, but it took a while to find it. I found the 2009 town report had a warrant article, which is number 35, and it reads, to see if the town will vote to maintain Albee Beach Road leading to the town-owned Albee Beach on a year-round basis for the following reasons. Even off-season, most of the traffic using Albee Beach Road is a result of the public accessing either Albee Beach or the track for recreational purposes, i.e. swimming, canoeing, kayaking, picnicking, fishing, hiking, biking, cross-country skiing, snowmobiling, so forth. Also, although the town of Wolfeboro owns substantial frontage on Albee Beach Road, maintenance becomes the responsibility of other abutters when the town beach is closed. This was submitted by petition. Sarah Silk stated the town has a right-of-way and as primary users of the right-of-way currently does repair to such. The owners have requested the town to make repairs to the road due to high usage associated with Albee Beach by the citizens. Suzanne Ryan stated the town cannot keep up with the existing roads currently, noting she is not in favor of Article 35. Sarah Silk stated it is not a private road currently being maintained by the town and noted that extraordinary amount of traffic created by the town beach. That warrant article failed. There was 875 yes, 1,311 no. The townspeople voted not to maintain that road, and I felt that the board should be aware of it and make some decisions based on the vote of the people.
Nice for you to find that. I had forgotten it. It's not a nice thing. It's not a nice result, but it's nice to know about.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, make a motion to go into non-public.